Okay, let's unpack this. Imagine, just for a moment, that everything you thought you knew about human history, our origins, even the very nature of reality, what if it was all just a carefully constructed illusion?
Hmm.
What if there's this ancient hidden intelligence actually native to Earth that's been watching us, maybe guiding us, or maybe even manipulating us from the shadows for like millennia?
That's a pretty big what if.
It is. And today we're diving deep into a set of documents that proposes exactly that kind of reality. The infamous Lacerta Files.
Yes, Lacerta. They pop up everywhere online.
Exactly. And these aren't just, interesting theories. They're presented as a literal interview transcript with a self-proclaimed reptilian being. A creature claiming her species is indigenous to Earth, predating us by millions and millions of years.
And the source, this Ole K, he claims he actually met her, right? He vouches for it completely.
He does. He certifies its authenticity, even claims he saw some pretty wild stuff like paranormal demonstrations during the meeting, telepathy, telekinesis.
Yeah, I remember reading that. A pencil dancing, an apple floating, stuff like that.
Right. And these files, well, they've captivated countless online communities, sparking endless speculation.
Understandably so.
So our mission today isn't really to debate whether these files are externally true. Because, let's be honest, the claims are, well, they defy conventional belief.
They absolutely do. Off the charts, really.
Instead, we're going for a fascinating intellectual exercise. What if? What if the Lacerta Files were absolutely, unequivocally factual? What would that actually mean for our understanding of the world, our history, our origins? Could we even begin to prove or disprove anything she said using our current knowledge? Or would it just force us to, throw everything out?
It's about exploring the internal logic, isn't it? The implications if this narrative were real.
Exactly. This deep dive is about exploring that internal logic and the profound implications if this narrative were indeed the reality we inhabit.
That's right. And the claims in these files are just. They're monumental. So to really get into them, we have to kind of suspend our immediate skepticism just for the purpose of this exploration.
Right, bracket the disbelief for a bit.
Yeah. Ole K doesn't just present an interview, he presents it as this documented personal encounter. He describes witnessing abilities that, defy physics in his 3-hour meeting with Lacerta. Telepathy, that dancing pencil, the levitating apple.
Stuff you can't easily fake.
Well, he says without reservation that he's absolutely sure that these abilities were no tricks. And he's completely sure that everything she said during the interview is the absolute truth about our world.
Wow, that's a strong statement.
It is. He even acknowledges how unbelievable it sounds, like something from science fiction, and offers no external proof. Yet he really pushes the reader. Read the transcript and think about it, and you will maybe see the truth in these words.
So he's putting the burden of proof, or maybe belief, on the reader's intuition. Sort of. So our focus is squarely on the content. What does Lacerta actually claim? And what are the radical shifts in thinking that would have to happen if this were somehow our reality? How would everything from science to spirituality need rebuilding?
So after setting that pretty audacious stage, Ole K gets right into it. The first big question he asks Lacerta is basically, who are you, and are you from Earth or somewhere else?
Yeah.
What was her immediate answer? Because it's quite something.
Oh, it's blunt. Almost chillingly direct. She says, as you can see with your own eyes, I'm not a human being like you. And to be honest, I'm no real mammal. I'm a female reptile being belonging to a very old reptilian race.
Okay, straight to the point. No messing around.
None at all. But then she drops the real bombshell, the core paradigm-shifting claim. We are the native Terrans, and we live on that planet since millions of years. It's, in fact, our planet and not yours. It was never yours.
Wow. Okay, that
Yes.
That one line just turns everything upside down, doesn't it? Our whole idea of being the dominant species of Earth being ours, completely shattered. If that were true, our entire history, our concept of ownership, our self-identity as the planet's main inhabitants, it all just evaporates.
So, native Terrans, how far back does she claim they go?
Millions of years, predating humanity significantly. She traces their lineage back to local saurians, specifically a small but advanced humanoid-like dinosaur that somehow survived the big cataclysm 65 million years ago.
The one that wiped out the dinosaurs.
The very same. So this establishes this ancient inherent right to the planet that, in her narrative, humans just don't have. We're the visitors, the latecomers.
And she claims we sort of know about them or have hints.
Yeah, she gets provocative there. She says they're mentioned in your religious writings like your Christian Bible.
The serpent in the garden, I assume.
That's the implication, though she quickly says their depiction as the evil serpent is wrong, from her perspective, obviously. She also claims they were worshipped as gods by ancient human tribes, specifically mentioning the Egyptians and the Inca.
Okay, so if we take that leap, what does that do to history and religion?
It forces a complete reevaluation, doesn't it? All religious texts, ancient myths, archaeological finds, could those divine encounters, those mythical creatures, even the gods themselves, just be misinterpretations of interactions with this technologically advanced reptilian species?
It reframes everything. Ancient astronauts, but reptilian natives.
Exactly. It fundamentally questions the foundations of our spiritual and historical stories. But maybe the most shocking claim is about us, about humanity.
Right, the engineering part.
Yes, she claims humans were genetically engineered by aliens, a group she calls the Illagem. And it happened at an impossible speed, just 2 to 3 million years.
Which is lightning fast in evolutionary terms.
Precisely. Her species, she says, was just the more or less passive visitors of this accelerated evolution process. So this completely contradicts conventional evolutionary theory, the slow, natural development over eons.
So we're not the product of natural selection, in her view. We're a project.
That's the core insight. According to Lacerta, humanity is a deliberately engineered species. It just demolishes human exceptionalism, doesn't it?
Yeah.
We're not the pinnacle of organic evolution. We're an artificial construct.
Which raises all sorts of uncomfortable questions about free will, purpose. What does it even mean to be human if we're essentially programmed?
Deeply unsettling questions. She also clarifies her name. Apparently it's unpronounceable for us, something like Suryashakask.
Right, hence Lacerta. Easier.
Much easier. And their time measurement is different too, based on Earth's magnetic field cycles, not years. By their count, she's over 57,000 cycles old, which she says is roughly like being 28 in human years.
Okay. And why is she revealing all this? What's her stated purpose?
She describes herself as a curious student of the social behavior of your species. She's sharing this secret information, partly to gauge her reaction.
Testing the waters.
Seems like it. But also because, and this is a stark warning, she says, you need to understand if you want to survive the coming years.
Survive. Okay. So there's a threat implied.
Definitely. It immediately raises the stakes. This isn't just ancient history. It's apparently critical for our near future.
That's an extraordinary foundation. Humanity engineered. Earth, not ours. Ancient reptilians. So if they're here and so ancient, how do they stay hidden, especially with UFOs and all that? How does Lacerta explain their, interaction or lack of it with us, and what do they actually look like?
It's a really good question, and yeah, her explanation is pretty detailed. On UFOs, she claims most sightings are actually either natural phenomena our science doesn't grasp yet, or, surprisingly,
Human military
craft.
Yeah.
Only a small number, she insists, actually belong to her species.
So what do their ships look like, according to her?
She describes them as metallic, bright gray, cigar-shaped cylindrical objects. They can be anywhere from, say, 20 to 260 meters long. They give off a very deep humming sound and have 5 bright red lights on the surface.
Cigar-shaped, okay. Not the classic saucer.
Not typically, no.
Yeah.
And she stresses they're extremely careful, using advanced concealment for their ships, too.
What about the triangle UFOs, then? Those are reported pretty often.
Those, she says, are human military. Built using foreign technology, basically. Stolen or misunderstood alien tech. Apparently, they often mix conventional jet engines with these alien drives.
Wow, okay. And if you wanted to spot one of their craft, where would you look?
She suggests the Arctic, Antarctic, and Inner Asia, especially over mountain ranges, implying those are areas they frequent, or maybe where their hidden access points are.
Okay, so that's the ships. But what about them, their physiology? You said reptile, but she met Oli K face to face.
Right. And the description she gives is incredibly specific. Picture a human-like body-shaped head, 2 arms, 2 hands, 2 legs, 2 feet. But the skin is totally different. Green-beige, with irregular brown dots, maybe 1 or 2 centimeters across, forming patterns, especially on the face and lower body.
Patterns? Like what?
She mentions herself having 2 lines over her eyebrows, down her cheeks, and on her chin. The eyes are larger than ours, big black pupils, with a small, bright green iris. Males have dark green. And crucially, the pupils are slits, like a cat's, and they can change size dramatically, from a thin line to a wide oval, very light sensitive.
Okay, definitely not human eyes. What else?
Ears are external, but smaller, rounder, more sensitive than ours, and they have a lid they can close, apparently useful underwater. The nose is pointed, V-shaped curving between the nostrils. She says it's a leftover temperature-sensing organ. Lips are pale brown, females slightly larger. Teeth, white, strong, much sharper than our soft mammal teeth.
Sharper teeth. Okay. Hair. Scales.
They have hair, but only on the head. It's greenish-brown, thick, strong, grows very slowly. And yes, scale-like structures on the upper legs and arms. The fingers are longer, thinner than ours. Plain palms, but with scale-like skin and those brown dots. And interestingly, no fingerprints.
No fingerprints. That's significant for staying hidden.
Absolutely. And they have small, sharp horns on their middle fingers. Fingernails are gray. Males have longer ones, sometimes up to 5 or 6 centimeters, and pointed.
Horns on their fingers.
Yeah. And maybe the most unique feature is this hard, bony plate structure along the spine from head to hip. It's external, highly sensitive, lots of nerves and blood vessels. It acts as a temperature regulator. She mentions it makes sitting in human chairs uncomfortable.
That explains a lot. What about birth? You said reptile.
No navel.
Yeah.
Completely different birth process. They lay eggs, but the development happens inside the mother first, in a thin, chalky shell with protein liquid. The baby uses those horns on its middle fingers to break out of the egg after it's laid.
Incredible. And body temperature?
Reptilian, as you'd expect. Normal is around 33 degrees Celsius. She says sunbathing or sitting in warm water, which raises their temperature 8 or 9 degrees, feels like a great pleasure. It boosts enzyme and hormone production, increases organ activity.
So they enjoy warmth, like terrestrial reptiles.
Omnivorous, but they must eat flesh for protein. And apparently, they can digest stuff that would be poisonous to us. So physiologically, they're incredibly distinct, perfectly adapted, yet recognizably humanoid in basic form.
So physically distinct, humanoid-ish reptiles living here for millions of years. How on Earth do they stay hidden, especially if they look like that?
Right. This is maybe the most mind-bending part. It comes down to their mental abilities. Powerful telepathy and telekinesis. Lacerta claims these are just innate for her species, way beyond human potential.
Telepathy. How does that work for hiding?
She describes it as literally touching the human mind to implant a command. See us as one of your kind.
Tell our brains to see a human.
Essentially, yes. She claims this works because of a specific switch built into human consciousness by those aliens, the Illo-Jim, during our creation, like a backdoor for mental manipulation.
Wow, so they can just project an image?
Exactly. They can appear as an attractive brown-haired woman, or basically whatever they choose, to individuals or even large groups. You could walk past one on the street and see a totally normal person, while their true form is completely hidden by this mental projection.
That's deeply unsettling. But what about cameras? Photos?
Crucial point. She says the ability does not work on cameras or photos. Film would capture their true reptilian form. That's why they strictly avoid being filmed or photographed. It's forbidden for their kind.
Okay, that provides a sort of internal logic, doesn't it? Explains the lack of hard visual evidence.
It does. And she adds that direct commands, like service, are much harder. It needs a strong reptilian mind and a weak human one, though she hints there are secret teachings about it.
If that kind of mind manipulation is real, think about history. Unexplained events, mass hysteria, weird encounters. Could it all be linked?
It throws everything into question, doesn't it? Our perceptions, our memories, even our thoughts could be subtly influenced or completely overwritten. Are our senses even reliable?
Chilling. Does she offer any way to resist it?
She gives some advice, though admits it's hard and painful. Focus your mind, analyze your thoughts constantly, don't close your eyes and stay awake. She says it's not very effective against stronger species, but might offer a sliver of defense against weaker influences. Still, the idea that our reality could be so easily warped is, chillin'.
And this concealment extends to where they live too, right? Underground.
Yes, massively underground. She describes our homeland being part of these vast, interconnected cave systems, much deeper than we've ever explored, like 2,000 to 8,000 meters deep.
That's incredibly deep.
Right. And these aren't just caves, they're advanced cities and colonies. She describes one specific cavern, dome-shaped, 4,300 meters down, 2.5 kilometers wide, and 220 meters high. Huge.
Wow, what are these cities like?
They have artificial sunlight, using UV light from gravitational sources, climate control, air shafts to the surface. There's a central cylindrical column supporting the dome, apparently important for both religious and technical reasons. The city layout is concentric rings, with zones for warming their blood under artificial suns, animal farms for protein, gardens,
and powered by
advanced fusion power stations. These are highly sophisticated subterranean complexes. And the entrances on the surface, meticulously hidden using similar camouflage tech as their ships.
And her advice if you find one.
Run away as fast as you can. Suggests they really don't want uninvited guests. Imagine the implications, a whole civilization beneath our feet. It changes everything about geology, resources.
It really does. Okay, so influenced minds, hidden underground cities. This leads back to history. Lacerta claims almost everything we think we know is wrong, starting with the dinosaurs.
Right, the big extinction event, 65 million years ago. Not an asteroid, she claims. It was an artificial cataclysm. A war.
A war? Between who?
Two other alien species. One was humanoid, from Procyon in our universe. The other was reptilian, but crucially, not her ancestors. These ones came from another bubble or dimension.
And what were they fighting over down here on primordial Earth?
Copper. Sounds mundane, right? But she says it's crucial for their advanced tech, especially for creating powerful force fields. When you combine it with unstable materials and hit it with high-energy fields, it creates these super robust energy shields. So for them, it wasn't just wire. It was a key component for high-tech warfare. Worth fighting over, apparently.
A cosmic war over copper.
And the cataclysm itself.
She says the dimensional reptilians fired an experimental fusion bomb from space. It hit the ocean in what's now Middle America. But the explosion caused an unpredictable fusion with hydrogen in the water, making it far more devastating than planned.
So massive radiation, fallout. Exactly. Deadly radiation, an overproduction of fusion oxygen, fallout, including iridium, which she points out our scientists blame on an asteroid in a nuclear winter that lasted almost 200 years. This completely challenges our geological and paleontological models.
And her ancestors survived this.
Yes, that small, advanced, iguanodon-like dinosaur. They survived underground, apparently already using tools and fire. And over the next 30 million years, they evolved into intelligent beings.
40 million years. That's an immense time scale.
It really puts human evolution in perspective, doesn't it? She mentions they later split into 27 subspecies, had primitive wars, but then, up 10 million years ago, unify through genetic manipulation, basically eliminating aggressive genes and halting their own evolution.
So their evolution was long and natural until they altered it, compared to us.
Compared to our artificially induced rapid development?
Yeah.
We're the engineered newcomers in this story. Our minds, she suggests, are programmed and struggle with these vast timescales.
Which brings us back to the Elohim, the engineers.
Right. They arrived from Aldebaran about 1.5 million years ago, and their interest wasn't copper, it was us, or rather, our ape-like ancestors. They wanted to develop them into a slave race for future wars.
A slave race. Okay, that's dark.
Very. Lacerta details how the Elohim repeatedly intervened, taking early hominids, modifying them, returning them slightly more advanced, 7 major accelerations over 23,000 years. And our current human civilization, we're apparently the 7th attempt.
7th? What happened to the others?
Wiped out or collapsed. She gives examples. The first advanced humans around 700,000 years ago. The 5th civilization, who she claims built the first Egyptian pyramids 75,000 years ago.
75,000, not 4 or 5,000.
According to her, yes.
Yeah.
And the 6th civilization built the underwater ruins in the Bimini area about 16,000 years ago. The implication is staggering. Our history books are completely wrong, maybe deliberately obscured. Evidence of these past civilizations exists, but our programmed minds dismiss it.
So our entire recorded history is just the latest chapter after multiple reboots.
That's the picture she paints. A cycle of engineered civilizations.
And if that wasn't enough, there was also a war of the gods between her people and the Elohim.
Exactly. A major conflict fought on Earth and in the skies between Lacerta species and the Elohim, and apparently even between different factions of Elohim.
How did early humans see all this?
As religious myths. Good versus evil. The Elohim, being technologically superior in many ways, managed to frame themselves as the good guys. So those ancient stories of divine wars, powerful gods, epic struggles, just distorted accounts of advanced alien conflict that primitive humans couldn't comprehend.
So our concepts of divinity, good versus evil, potentially just echoes of alien propaganda.
It's a radical reinterpretation, isn't it? Our entire spiritual foundation might be based on misinterpreting an alien war.
And what happened to the Elohim? Why aren't they openly here now?
They left, suddenly, about 4,943 years ago, according to Lacerta's species records. They destroyed their own surface bases and just vanished.
Her people don't know why.
They just left. Yep. Which, for some of her species historians, was seen as a victory. But for humans, it left behind the myths of gods who ascended to the heavens, maybe promising to return. It shaped our religions profoundly.
Wow. That's a lot to take in about the past. So Shifting to the present and the future, what's the current alien situation on Earth according to Lacerta?
It's crowded, apparently. She claims there are 14 active alien species on Earth right now.
14.
14. 11 from our universe, 2 from another bubble or dimension, and 1 very advanced species from a very different plane. Plus, rumors of a 15th that arrived recently.
Are friendly?
Not all of them. She says 3 of the 14 are hostile to humans. One of these hostile groups apparently betrayed your kind by trading advanced technology to human governments in exchange for resources, specifically copper.
Copper again. So this deal led to
An ongoing Cold War between 2 of these hostile races fighting over Earth's resources that's been going on for about 73 years. And it sounds like a third group might be quietly winning this struggle, the conflict happening largely under our noses.
what do these hostile aliens want? Still copper.
Copper is definitely high on the list for their tech. But also, your water, or better, the hydrogen in your water, probably for fusion energy, also certain chemical elements in your air. And perhaps, most disturbingly,
What?
2 of the species are interested in human tissue and blood
Why?
because their own genetics are messed up.
Right.
Defect through bad evolution and radiation, she says. They need intact DNA from humans and animals to constantly repair their own failing genetic code. It's not fully compatible, so they try to create crossbreeds through artificial fertilization and gene splicing.
So Earth is seen as a biological resource, a pharmacy.
A vital, desperate resource for their survival, it seems. It ties back to that ancient war, but adds this grim biological angle.
And this connects to abductions.
Directly. She says abductions are partly for collecting egg and sperm samples, and partly just to study our bodies and minds.
What happens to the abductees?
She states very starkly that the hostile abductors rarely return humans alive. That's the claim. So people who report being abducted and returned either encountered one of the non-aggressive species or were just extremely lucky.
That's terrifying. But abduction reports often describe different-looking aliens, Greys, Nordics, Reptilians.
Lacerta has an explanation for that, too. She says the more advanced species use their mind influence abilities to project different appearances. Humans, gray dwarfs, weird animals, anything.
Why?
To confuse witnesses, discredit their accounts, maintain secrecy. They might make you think you were examined by human doctors in a normal hospital, but later you realize there was no hospital there. It's a deliberate tactic to muddy the waters and dismiss any testimony. Your own memory could be a construct.
So even abduction memories might not be reliable. What does this mean for our future? She mentioned survival.
Yeah, the prognosis isn't great. She expects this Cold War to turn into a hot war relatively soon, maybe the next 10 or 20 years, fought over Earth's resources, materials, hydrogen, air, and our DNA.
A hot war, like ships in the sky, battles.
Maybe some of that. But she emphasizes more insidious tactics, influencing political leaders behind the scenes, using advanced weapon systems, maybe those copper fusion fields she mentioned, to trigger what look like natural disasters, earthquakes, volcanic eruptions, extreme weather events.
So warfare disguised as natural catastrophe. We might not even realize we're under attack.
That's the implication. Our programmed minds might just label it climate change or bad luck, while it's actually targeted attacks.
Will anyone help us? Other advanced species?
Probably not, according to Lacerta. The other highly developed species tend to view humans as animals in a very large lab.
Lab animals, seriously.
That's the analogy she uses. Intervening would just disturb their long-term observation projects. Like stepping on an anthill. Why would a higher intelligence bother defending meaningless ants? They'll likely just watch the crisis situation from a safe distance, or maybe move on to study another planet.
What about her own species, the native reptilians? Will they help?
Generally, no. She says they'll keep ourselves as far away from the conflict as we can. They've apparently passed some information to certain human governments, but their overall view is clear. Humans ought to learn to solve your own problems yourselves.
A rather detached perspective.
Almost clinical, isn't it? Like scientists observing a less developed species facing a challenge.
Okay, this ties into something else. She actually analyzed some specific UFO photos in the second file, right?
She did. It's fascinating. She gives some general rules first. Blurry or spectrally shifted photos are more likely to be genuine because of the energy field effects around the craft. Very clear photos, probably fakes. And if you can see the water surface being disturbed beneath the craft, that's a strong indicator it's real.
Okay, interesting rules. Which photos did she look at?
She analyzed a few, but 2 stand out. Photo 2, from Albiosque, France, 1974. She calls it genuine. Says it belongs to an alien species that had been around for about 35 years at that point. Describes it as metallic, disc-shaped, distorted by the field effect, with 4 long white processes underneath. Not lights, she clarifies, but quasi-gravitational light manipulation, a charged form field. She actually criticizes the aliens for being terribly careless to let it be photographed.
Careless aliens. Okay, what was the other one?
Photo 4, the famous triangular craft from Petit Richon, Belgium, 1990. This one, she also says, is genuine, but
What?
it's human military, not extraterrestrial.
So she confirms the triangle craft are ours?
That's her claim. She says triangular shapes aren't typical for aliens. They prefer rounded discs or cylinders for better energy field flow. This Belgian triangle, a secret U.S. military project using immature alien technology obtained back in the 60s or 70s, likely through that deal with the hostile aliens.
How could you tell it was genuine but human?
She points to the distortion and the quasi-light in the rotating cylinders as signs of the alien tech components. But she's critical. Says the 4 cylinders are unusual, suggesting human scientists are just rebuilding the system single-handedly without actually being able to understand what kind of dangerous thing they are doing there. She mentions residual radiation risks from the materials used.
So humans playing with dangerous, misunderstood alien tech.
Exactly. She speculates the flights over Europe could be tests, maybe for camouflage systems, or maybe there's a secret U.S. test station nearby. The implication is pretty chilling. Our own militaries might be messing with forces they don't comprehend, potentially risking catastrophe.
Playing with fire, indeed. It's a stark warning, delivered so matter-of-factly. Okay, let's circle back to the personal side. Why did Lacerta even reveal herself? First to this EF guy, then through Ole K, given her species avoids contact.
It's a really interesting part of the narrative. She says she first met EF in Sweden, 2 years before the interview with Ole K. She was near a hidden surface entrance, driven by curiosity about humans, our social behavior, literature. She found EF living alone in a remote cabin.
They just knocked on his door?
Pretty much. Even though she didn't have official permission, she used her mimicry ability, so initially he just saw an attractive, brown-haired human woman.
So she built a relationship first?
Yeah, over several visits. They talked about normal stuff, then moved on to deeper topics like religion, physics. She was apparently really struck by his open-mindedness, honesty, intelligence, and the fact he wasn't heavily conditioned by religion or public opinion.
That he was receptive, not easily swayed.
Exactly the quality she was looking for, it seems. That's why she took the huge step, for her kind, of showing him her true reptilian form during their 4th meeting.
How did he react?
Violently at first, she admits. A natural human shock reaction. But he eventually calmed down and accepted it. And now she claims she has some kind of immunity that allows her to share this information more widely through Ole K. But she stresses general contact is still forbidden. Humans have basically 0 chance of finding them unless they choose to be found.
Which highlights their control, their advanced concealment.
And their very deliberate, almost scientific approach to observing us, with very rare exceptions for direct contact.
So what's the final takeaway? The core message she wanted to leave Ole AK and by extension us with.
Her closing words are pretty powerful. She urges Ole AK and the reader, open your eyes and see. Don't believe only in your wrong history or your scientists or your politicians. Some of them know the truth, but they don't inform the public to avoid confusion and panic.
A direct call to question authority and official narrative.
Absolutely. And then she adds something almost unexpected. She says, I think your species is not as bad as some of my kind thinks, and it would be a pity to observe your end.
A pity. That sounds almost sympathetic.
It's ambiguous, isn't it? But despite predicting that most people won't believe her words, she finishes by saying, there is hope for your kind. It's this strange mix of deep cynicism about our ignorance and maybe a faint clinical curiosity about whether we can actually wake up.
What an incredible, unsettling journey through the Lacerta Files. We've covered this hidden history, alien engineering, a secret species under our feet, this looming future conflict. It all comes back to her challenge, that our programmed mind, our ignorance, stops us seeing the truth. It just forces you to question everything.
It really does. And this leaves us with a crucial question, doesn't it? For you, listening right now. If even a tiny fraction of what Lacerta claims is true, if our history is manipulated, if our origins are artificial, if our very perception of reality can be controlled, what does that even mean for free will, for knowledge, for humanity's future?
How would we even start to tell truth from fiction if the programming runs that deep?
Exactly. Is it even possible to truly open our eyes, like she urges? Or are we too embedded in the constructed reality, too comfortable with the ignorance she describes. It makes you think maybe the biggest secrets aren't out there in space, but right here, underneath us, inside our own heads.
It's a profoundly unsettling thought.
It is. As Lacerta herself concludes with that stark warning, go through your world with open eyes and you will see, or maybe not, your kind is ignorant. Leaves me hanging, doesn't it? With the possibility that our reality is just one layer in a much bigger hidden story, and our greatest challenge might simply be noticing.